What's up everyone, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John and you are watching Ranked. Ranked is where we take a band or an artist and rank every studio album in their discography from worst to best, asterisk in my own personal opinion. Queens of the Stone Age are one of my personal top 10 favorite bands of all time, so I apologize for the delay on this video. I know it's been highly requested, but I wanted to make sure that I got it right for what I truly believed in. I'm also really excited to announce that I've struck up a sponsorship with the company Massdrop, who reached out to me, and it really helps when sponsors like this come on and support both of the channels, so take a minute to get to know this company and please check them out to help support the channel. Massdrop is a community-driven site where the members help decide which products get made next. I obviously do a ton of music listening for reviews and ranked episodes like this, and Massdrop sent me the amazing HD58X, one of their collaborations with the respected audio brand Sennheiser. The 58X features a comfortable and durable open-ear design, great for the casual or audiophile inclined listener. I've honestly returned so many headphones over the years due to low quality, sure, but also because of how uncomfortable they were for long listening sessions. If you're looking for a comfortable headphone that you almost forget you're wearing at times, the HD58X model from Massdrop and Sennheiser is the ideal choice. Priced significantly lower than its competitors and gaining hundreds of 5-star reviews from users, this should be an easy choice for most music fans. There's only a few more days left before the next drop goes live, so click the top link down below to reserve your pair now. Thank you for taking the time out to learn about Massdrop, but without further ado, let's get to ranking these Queens of the Stone Age records. Please drop a like on the video and subscribe for the love of music, and just to float it out there, really 4 through 1 were all very close to being number 1. The feat beneath Queens of the Stone Age most certainly didn't fail them on Villains, the group's adventurous 7th studio album. This of course made it that much harder to place this at the bottom of my list, but take solace in knowing that I still love the hell out of this record. The band selected Mark Ronson as the primary producer for the album, a guy known more for his pop-oriented style in the past. This certainly raised a few eyebrows at the time of the announcement, but the proof is in the pudding. Ronson pushes the band's sonic expression, flirting with a few electronic sounds on the opening of standout moment Fortress, and impressing even further on the hook-driven lead single, The Way You Used to Do. Beauty is found in the band's poise and groove, with this being the first Queens of the Stone Age record to date to not feature any outside guest musicians. I really discovered a deeper appreciation for Villains the more closely I listened. There's some excellent guitar work slicing up many of the tracks, and although it might not be as technical as it's been in the past, Troy still finds a way to make simplicity work in their favor. Domesticated Animals feels like Josh Homme is looking you dead in the eyes with a brash guitar lick repeating and gaining momentum as a gargantuan bass and synth line is added to make things even more dizzying in a good hypnotic kind of way. There's moments of introspection and clarity, but I also find that unique darkness that is most definitely Queens on much of the record. Are there a few songs that lack a memorable appeal in the lyrics or the music? Sure, I suppose so to an extent, but for a band's weakest album, it sure as hell isn't weak at all and demands to be played often. There's something to be said for an album that can leave you with a tingling, buzzing sensation. That might actually sound like a reason to visit your doctor, but I swear, it's a compliment. So dial back a couple of decades to find the self-titled album by Queens of the Stone Age, fresh off of the disbandment of Homme's former band, Caius. Sticking with the desert stoner rock style that we know and love Queens and Caius for, the debut album is gritty as hell, with a simple but effective inertia driving it. What it lacks in depth and finesse is more than made up for in wicked fun to keep listeners hooked. Homme cooked up the 11 tracks featured on the original pressing with former Caius drummer Alfredo Hernandez, who carried over a lot of the best parts of the original band. Regular John is probably the biggest standout here alongside Mexicola if you ask me. They both feature some aggressive, yet melodic and decidedly dark tendencies, chopping away with sludgy riffs, but reeling you in for more with Hami's somewhat mysterious vocal approach. The self-titled record does lack some of the more impressive howls and riffs that Hami brought to the table on future releases, but that doesn't change the fact that this has aged much more gracefully than many of the records from the late 90s. Try out the songs I mentioned, along with If Only and the wonderful chemistry found on You Can't Quit Me Baby, a title that nods to Led Zeppelin. It's seriously a perfect pairing of ominous bass, scowling guitar, and Hami's more expressive side, both lyrically and vocally. I'm so tired, and I'm wired too. For almost a decade, I overlooked this album for no good reason other than the stupid preconceived notions in my head. Jumping on the fan wagon at Lullabies, you'd think I would have lapped up Era Vulgaris like a baby kitten at a milk bowl. Hami's lead vocals often come through in a dreary haze, making for one of the darker Queen's records, which is certainly an achievement. Backing vocals are a priority once again, just like on their previous offering Lullabies, although the effect here is quite different this time around. A conquest feels imminent with the way Troy and Josh make their guitars come to life, dripping with sludge and sounding oh so moody. If you've ever wanted to dance with the devil, Era Vulgaris, boys and girls, is your soundtrack to do it to. Illuminating the light bulb in your own head is as simple as embracing the broken light bulbs on the album cover. A damaged mind and a bruised ego contributed to this album's creation. Check out the songs Into the Hollow and especially Battery Acid because holy shit does that one tear apart the rock star life. I've personally enjoyed the times where Hami and company step outside their comfort zone to create something slower, more zany, and more special. They accomplished this quite a few times here with the criminally underrated Suture Up Your Future, along with the slow dance rocker Make It With You. Era Vulgaris is a strong drink poured before noon. It's an album that succeeds because it openly goes against whatever commercial expectations may have been set for the band. I'm finding it harder and harder not to put this higher up my ranked list, but it's tough when you're a band that's never made an even remotely bad album. Shadowy fairy tale-like endeavors drove Lullabies to Paralyze, the band's fourth studio album. With Mark Lanegan singing the rather eerie This Lullaby to lead us in, you should already know what kind of treat you're in for. I honestly don't understand those that consider this one of their worst releases, but then again, some might not understand why I feel it's one of their best. I may have a slight bias towards this album considering it was the very first Queens of the Stone Age album I ever listened to, and the single Little Sister was among the 7 songs I was given on my first ever mix CD. The sharpened bliss of those guitars, that high-pitched solo as the outro, the cowbell, it was enough to make me swoon hard and buy the full album eventually. I feel that the dark energy possessing Lullabies is what makes it poised to remain in fans' rotation for decades to come. Most of us like darker leaning stuff, whether we'd like to admit it or not, and the songs like the band drama-fueled Burn the Witch and Someone's in the Wolf stab deep enough into the subconscious to keep you coming back. One problem I'll readily admit is that the album feels slightly front-loaded. We definitely get a satisfying closer, Long Slow Goodbye, intertwining the album's lyrical themes and forlorn guitars in excellent fashion, but leading up to that point, we get some weaker tracks like Broken Box that I just don't personally care for, partially due to Hami's vocal performance. Don't let that distract you from the overall truth, because this is a badass album that really rips in places. In My Head is a bit like watching a metronome in the sense that I feel the band's performance hypnotizes you, especially those sections where it breaks down to just the riff. Someone's in the Wolf features one of their greatest guitar riffs from any Queen's record. I Never Came flexes their strengths at making a mid-tempo song that never loses its way, and Tangled Up in Plaid remains possibly the most underrated Queen's song. Whether you're in it for the more high-octane openers or the slow burn close, Lullabies to Paralyze remains as ripe today as it was in 2005. Joey Castillo departed, Josh Homme went through the most troubling time of his life, and Dave Grohl returned to drum on the majority of the album. All of these ingredients mixed together equals one damn dark, sludgy, but fun as hell album. Like Clockwork is hands down one of my favorite records of the 2010s. It features blistering scorcher My God is the Sun, the oddly angelic turned roaring Collapsia with Trent Reznor, and holy shit, Trent Reznor? Yeah, you heard me correctly. Trent, Dave, Mark Lanigan, Nick Oliveri, Elton John, Alex Turner, Jake Shears, and more make appearances in one form or another. The appeal of the album lies within the way they're able to differentiate each and every track. They all make you feel at home in the sense that you're dedicating your time to listen, but each song is offering you a unique experience. The earworm I Sat by the Ocean has remained a buzzing rock staple that lightens the darkest of moods, while Keep Your Eyes Peeled opens up the LP on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, cramming in as much tension and atmosphere as possible. Just out of contractual obligations to myself, I would be devastated if I left here without mentioning 3 of the best songs on the album: the guitar and piano-driven Fairweather Friends, the intoxicating Smooth Sailing, which has one of Hami's most exciting vocal outings to date, and of course, I Appear Missing, which is a true work of art. If I could take a 3-way tie for the #1 Queens of the Stone Age album, I definitely would. Don't take number 3 as a deterrent or a non-glowing review, because this is nothing short of incredible.
First it give it, then it take it away.
In their early years, the band kept even more of an open-door policy with its members than they do today. Often considered the classic in their discography, I'd say Songs for the Deaf most definitely deserves that kind of recognition. I've always wanted to talk more about this beloved album, so here we go. Songs for the Deaf is Josh Homme performing with bandmates in its peak form. Nick Oliveri played on the album and performed vocals on several tracks, Mark Lanigan contributed to leads on the killer Song for the Dead, and Dave fucking Grohl banged the drums. What did we do to deserve such a stacked lineup? Obviously, we cannot ignore the genius behind the majority of it, as Josh Homme really got ambitious with the overall concept on this hour-long outing. Conceived as a drive through the desert with fake radio DJs transitioning many of the songs into each other, this really helps the album flow smoothly and keeps things from getting overwhelming or jarring. For example, by placing a DJ at the end of The Sky is Falling and having him introduce the station by saying, "We play nothing but death metal," it makes sense why the next song is Nick Oliveri screaming on the tantalizing 6-shooter. Things probably would have sounded off if we didn't have that buffer between these very two different types of songs, and although at times the DJ between songs can get a bit annoying, I understand why it was utilized. Anyways, this album is nearly perfect in my eyes, one that I hold in high regard and have admired more and more over the years. It features my favorite Queen song, Go With The Flow, and there's just too many damn classic singles and tasteful deep cuts to ignore, and this is essential listening for any rock fan. At number 1 sits the Magnum Opus, the perfect album, the record without blemish where not a single song is skippable. Rated R celebrated the turn of the millennium by cooling the jets of intensity and honing in on tightly knit grooves that become even more palatable with time. Skeletal outlines and raw instrumentals may have made for an exciting debut, but I'm honestly glad that Homme didn't settle for more of that the second time around. He elected Nick Oliveri, his former bandmate in Caius, to play bass and do additional vocals, while a plethora of other guests rained down throughout the track list. The connected feeling of kinetic energy keeps you in the zone and magnetized, as they do feature a decent amount of variety, but they also pull off some of the smoothest track-to-track transitions I have ever heard. Rough but slightly polished riffing fills the soundscape, with the much improved from the debut bass work shifting your focus ever so slightly to its more lively and loose playing style. The drum work and additional vocalists are other elements woven into the puzzle, with the Mark Lanigan-led In the Fade being one of the album's biggest underdog gems. I could rave about the slightly sardonic Monsters in the Parasol, praise the unstoppable drug escapade feel-good hit of the summer endlessly, or lecture you about why Autopilot and its soul-touching riffs deserve to be loved by all, but I think you'd be better off just playing this album in full. You wouldn't want to miss out on the context of the feel-good reprise, for example, or why Better Living Through Chemistry is placed at the ideal spot on the record and essentially throws your mind through a glass window when the jam really gets going. 42 minutes of musical ecstasy, my friends. It's waiting for you. You might think it's not as strong as a real drug, but truly let this album work its magic, and you might just think twice about that. So that wasn't so painful and bad, was it? Or maybe you think it was the worst ranking that you've ever seen in your life. Let me know either way in the comments section. I am very curious to know your thoughts on my own personal list and how you would rate the albums. Of course, if there's a future episode of Rank that you would like to see, feel free to suggest a way, except for Weezer. You know that one's gonna come after the Black Album drops. Don't forget to check out our sponsor Mass Drop at the top link down below, and if you would like to support the channel on Patreon, then click the second link down below or else the annotation in the corner of the screen. If you would like to see the full Ranked playlist, the episodes that I've already made, then tap there, or tap over here for a Queens of the Stone Age review. Socials can be found in the description, and I'll see you soon for more on ARTV.